please.
The transcript seems to be rolling continuously. So I consider that more valuable than the video because you got things in writing and you can search for keywords. So if anybody wants a recording, a transcript, I should say, of the meeting, that's
Anyway.
available.
Don, if you go to Hank's mini seminars, there's a link to that every one of my emails, and do a search. I think it's Control+F or Control+S.
Find, probably find, yeah.
Anyway, you look up Camtasia.
Mhm. Okay, we can try that.
David, you're good for doing the minutes from now on?
Yes, I have printed out a piece of paper.
Oh,
with
you're
the
good.
agenda-
All
with
right.
The agenda that I'm ready to scribble on.
Thank you. I'm headed east shortly, so thank you.
And at this point, we're waiting for Stan to call things to order.
All right. Well, I believe we have a quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
7, 8,
Yeah, I think
9. I count 9
everybody is
board
here.
members.
Yeah, everybody is here, including Bobby and Paul.
Okay, and we have guests. Okay. Very good. Minutes of the previous board meeting. I will bring them up for discussions. Are there any modifications or corrections to the minutes?
Hearing none, I move we accept the minutes as published.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
aye.
All opposed, say opposed. Any abstentions? Hearing none. Motion passes unanimously. President's report. Not much new. That isn't going to be covered in the agenda. Okay. VP administration report. Will, do you have any comments?
None at this time.
All right, very good. And VP Public Relations, that position actually is not filled yet, but will be in January when the new slate of officers takes place. But I'll give Willie an opportunity to ask again, what are my duties?
Okay, what are my duties? No, I kind of got an idea, and I've already put some feelers out, and I got some ideas on how to get the word out about the group.
Get more members.
Yep.
If you want that,
Well, I think it's a direction we have to go, and we have to go in that direction as being an online computer support group, which actually broadens our area to whatever we can find online. And anyway, we'll discuss that later.
I've got something I just want to tell Willie. We did this in the past. There is a place in Balboa Park. It's along the promenade that runs, but from one end to the other, east-west. And it's a place for seniors to gather. I think that's the excuse for it being there.
Senior lounge.
Yeah. And we have in the past passed out some cards there and gotten a couple of members from that. If you can find that place and drop by there now and then, that probably would help.
I'll find some way of getting the word out.
Very good. Okay, moving on to Hank Drayton for programs report. Hank, you.
As usual, I'm out of ideas. Starting next week, I've got to find something. Suggestions very welcome.
Okay,
If people enjoyed my previous, vacation report and how to use Google Photos, we did Australia. I still have New Zealand in the bank if we would like to schedule that sometime.
Yeah.
Would it involve other technology related matters like the one you did focused on Google Photos? Would this be something different?
The way it's currently constituted, no, it would be, more of the same.
I'd like to make one comment about Google Photos. Just this last week, I was exploring what's available in my Google Photos app, so to speak, when I go online through the computer and start looking at all of the photos that Google Photos has in there. I was a little surprised in that somewhere in the distant past, I have linked my photo folder. And I was able to go all the way back to 2001 to see photos that I had been shooting with other digital cameras. Obviously, my film camera history is not recorded, but my digital cameras, I had an Olympus back in 2001, and then I ended up with another a Nikon, and all of those photos were in Google Photos and had been found by face identification. And I just asked for all of the pictures of Stan Follis. And sure enough, it showed me pictures that had been taken on previous digital cameras and the Nikon camera, which was my most recent film camera prior to switching over completely to a smartphone. And a couple smartphones, of course, are all in there. I was stunned, frankly, that all of that stuff had gotten synchronized and is available through Google Photos. I must confess that I am baffled by it. Therefore, I'm not a good one to lead it or to present it. I could just point out, look at this, but I don't know how to get it now.
I'd like to comment on what Stan just said. I'm looking for someone who could present the following. I had a discussion with a neighbor yesterday at happy hour. And the discussion was, he maintains that the cloud is a bunch of different servers, a bunch of different computers, like the cloud where he goes for his banking information is in one place, and the cloud where he goes for his photos, Google Photos, is another place. And each one of those places is a server, or a computer with a whole bunch of stuff on it. And I maintain that the cloud is a sort of amorphous place which all sorts of computers get into once they are designated, like Stan's photos now are, as available on, quote, the cloud. And if anybody can explain that clearly, please volunteer to be a very well-attended session, which would probably be titled, "Where is the Cloud?" Anybody wave their hand?
Well, I would just say I might be able to do something, but maybe we could do this in Q&A after the board meeting because it's not really on the
Yeah.
agenda.
I'm sorry. I'm encroaching on my own time on the board.
No. Stan, open that door, and I was about to close it.
Oh, all right, moving forward. Treasurer's report, Miriam?
Hello, everyone. I distributed the treasurer's report, which I will now read. We only had 3 transactions in November. We paid the APCUG annual dues of $50. We received Amazon Smile money of $6.79. And I know that Stan and I are signed up for Amazon Smile. We'd get a little more if more people did. It doesn't cost you anything. It just sends, I think, 1% of your Amazon Smile purchases. But you have to remember to log on to Amazon Smile and not just Amazon to get it. And we received the PayPal dues for Willie, which came to $15 and something after we had paid for the PayPal fee. The checking account at the beginning of the month was $4,836.24, and at the end of the month it was $4,808.47. That's it.
Miriam, I received in the mail from the Secretary of State's a receipt.
Again?
No, just showing that we are a member of the 501c3. I'll send you a copy of it by email.
Okay, that'd be
It
fine.
doesn't require any action.
Okay,
And just a reminder that we usually we announce it starting now that we are taking memberships for next year.
yes. We are. I'll be happy to receive the money.
Good segue to the next agenda item.
Well, first of all, I would move that we approve the treasury report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. Moving on, committee reports, membership.
Right. Let me share a screen and show you some information. I have been keeping information about who has been coming on to our can everybody see this?
Yes.
Zoom
Okay, yeah.
attendees. So I do keep it by our weekly meetings and show who is on. This isn't necessarily membership for, this is just something that I do separately to keep track of who comes on. Let me stop that share and go to another one. And we haven't had any changes since last time. And let me see if I can find the report. Here it is. It's on the left here. You can see that our last meeting, well, actually I filled in this one because I assume there will be no changes this week. But we currently have 44 active members, of which 9 are life members. I've made a note down below saying that the 2021 column is members who were members last year who have not renewed. So at this point, we have 12 members from last year who have not renewed to this year. There were 5 new ones this year. And again, the life members are included in the active members. And there's a note down below that validates that, clarifies it. Saul had some questions about this, and they were good questions, and I did make these notes down below to include it. Something that concerned him was the big change in the active numbers way back at the beginning of the year. And I explained that what happens on March 1, we drop all of the earlier year members who have not rejoined. So at this point in March 1 of 22, there were still 12 members that had not renewed, and you see that continue down through the entire year. So any questions about this that I can answer?
Yeah, so I would assume then if those 12 people continue to not renew, then those 12 will disappear on the 1st of March next year.
Correct. Correct. In fact, those that don't renew, probably of these 44 that do not renew, will be dropped in March of 23.
I'd like to ask Will, in November, I don't believe that I missed any meetings, but you only show me attending, I think, twice.
Okay, I'll correct that.
Now, I missed last week because of a computer issue. I couldn't get anything to open. I worked and I finally, in frustration, turned it off. But it's fixed now.
Okay. Well, I try to keep accurate records, but sometimes I miss things, and thank you for correcting, Ray.
Yeah,
I'll fix
that's-
that.
Yeah, that's a very valuable report. I hope you keep that up. That gives us a good idea of our attendance.
Yeah.
I have one question on membership. How do I find out if I have renewed, since my memory may not be as good as everybody else's? How do I know that I have renewed?
I guess the best way is to send me an email and I will tell you. I don't
we
know
be
how
a
else
little
to do it.
proactive and send a notice to those who have not renewed? Or some way notify them that perhaps by oversight, they have not renewed?
We do that. As of January 1, we do put out a report. I think we probably wait until trying to
I think in the
recall.
past, we've always done it even twice. You know, we
Yeah.
send out one like in January and then in March, another one. So that gets covered pretty well.
And who is the we that sends that out?
I
Will
do.
does.
Yes.
Will does. All right, thank you.
I have
Okay.
a
Any
question for
other
Will.
questions? If not,
Yeah.
I'll stop the sharing.
Yeah, you can
Yes.
stop sharing if you want. But I was going to make the
No,
comment that
I have a question. Could you put it back up?
Sure. He says.
Okay. My question is, if you look at the the second and third row, we go from 53 active down to 39 active, which is dropping those who didn't renew. And the difference in those two numbers is 14, not 12.
no, it's 22 actually.
Huh?
The difference between 53 and 39 is 22.
Where I come from.
Okay, I stand
14.
corrected.
Yeah, 14. Mhm.
It's 14. Add 14 to 39 and you get 53. Why is that not 12?
And these are some of the questions I asked Will about. I was trying to reconcile the numbers also, Hank. And I think he and I will work it out and we can let the rest of the board know.
Thank
I
you.
guess I have to ask, is that really critical at this point, back in March of last year? Of
No.
this year, I mean.
No, but it calls into question, are the numbers correct? And that's,
Yeah, okay. I'll try to figure out why those numbers don't equate. I think it has to do with the numbers that we dropped from 2021. So
I
I'll
see
check it.
Willie has a question. I
Go
presume
ahead
it's
and finish.
related to this
Yeah,
issue.
finish your comment, then I'll ask.
Okay,
Okay, what I was gonna ask is, out of those 12, I mean, since I'm gonna assume some role of publicity, of those 12 there, do you have a list of the names and the
Yes.
email addresses of those 12. Can you extract that from your spreadsheet? Or is this something that's a manual?
I get it from the database that I use, which
Right.
is Access.
Because I mean, I would like, come January, when I start this publicity thing, I would like to get hold of those people
Sure.
to ask them why they aren't, maybe pursue why they're not renewing. If it's just a matter of laziness or.
Yeah, no, with our
Financial
database, with
burdens or
our
whatever.
Access database, it's very easy to extract those names. You just put in a query that says, giving the first and last name of the people whose expired date is such and such, and it'll come up.
I think that's really valuable, Willie, knowing why they didn't renew. One of the questions may be, are we having in-person meetings? I have one person that specifically quit.
I think we lost Hank.
Are you dropping out mid-sentence?
I think he did, yeah.
He'll be back.
But yeah, I mean, that's something I want to pursue is like you say, new membership and reinstating old members. Because
Sure.
it seems like if there's 12 people that aren't renewing and there's a reason for it, we got to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, we have data going back many years, so, we can find all in fact, our database contains all the old members from many years ago.
All right. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting a hold of that at some point,
Okay.
not till next year, but
Great.
So what I was going to say was, it was the first two rows that was different by 22, and the numbers don't figure out, why that is. Not the second and third rows. I apologize for that. But these are things I was asking Will and suggesting that there may be a better way to present this in the way of a format that you can get from A to B numerically, as you would with a financial statement, for instance. And when Will answers my questions, I'll work with him on that.
Yeah.
The other thing that Will mentioned that I asked him, if it's not apparent to people, is that he said all memberships expire this month at the end of a calendar year. So just be aware of that. And I would suggest that emails do get sent out to current members to remind them that their membership is expiring and would appreciate if they would renew this month, not wait till January.
well, I realize in the bylaws, it says that the membership goes by calendar year, but I know it's written in the bylaws, but can that be changed to just a rolling year? So that when somebody gets renewed, they can renew in January or?
No, we don't do that.
Well, I didn't
that
say you did
becomes-
that. I asked if you could do that.
Well, if you
Because
had a different membership chairman, you could do that.
Well,
It's
the
just-
reason why I'm bringing it up is because I had to get prorated for the month of December, and it just made, I was talking to Alice about that, I guess.
You got prorated?
That's what the bylaws say. If you join in December, you're prorated for the year. You pay for just December.
We
and then-
haven't enforced that for many years, the 7 or 8 years that I've been involved. In fact, we waived any prorating starting in October. If you joined after October, it was just $15 for the whole next year. So that's a very tiny point.
Hey, guys, we're talking about $1.25.
Exactly, that's right.
What I'm talking about is somebody doesn't renew in January. Do you give them until December 31st?
Well, I
of the
after you
next
said
year?
that the bylaws said prorate, I figured $1.25 a month. I can multiply. I'll do it.
Yeah, that's kind of thing what we decided in the past.
So Willie's comment, is about two different ways to do membership. They all expire at the same point in time, or they go for 12 months whenever somebody joins. Those are the two options. And if they all expire at the same time, it would make sense to prorate if they're joining mid-year.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm happy to do those calculations.
But it's not a matter of the calculations. I'm talking about if I approach a person and say, would you like to join our club? And they say it costs you all $15 per year. And they say, yeah, but it's already June. And they say, well, that's fine. You only have to pay for June till
Yeah.
December and you're still in the club. That's a half a year. That's $7.50 or whatever. It's not the dollars, obviously, it's the transactions. And you just said there's a fee for using PayPal. So everybody's looking for, for the dollar or whatever. But I'm just saying, if you require somebody to renew every January, that's a whole 44 people have to renew in January, as
Yeah.
opposed to a rolling year. I don't know how it works accounting wise, but
Yeah,
it
but
seems to me that it'd be easier to attract people if you paid for 1 year at a time.
We have set it up to where if you do join after the 6th month, we do only charge half.
That's exactly
Alice,
right. Yeah, that's correct.
So
Right.
essentially,
Absolutely.
we have prorated by half year, but not by the month.
Because of what Marion said, when we were sitting at the table doing this, didn't make sense to start it penny pinching it. So in fact, we used to do it by the quarter at but more often than not, just by 6 months.
And in some ways, Willie, I would say, if everyone expires at the same time, then there's one time in the year when we send out all the notices.
That's right.
Whereas if people
Exactly.
expired all through the year, then we'd have to keep track. Well,
It's a lot more work.
who expired this month or next month?
Yeah.
So-
It's a lot more work for the membership chairman to do it if everybody's renewal date is different.
Hank
That
has his
makes
hand
sense.
up. Hank,
Yes, I suggested that the chairman appoint a subcommittee, and I'd suggest Willie and Will and Saul, at least, maybe David, because he had an opinion, to get together separately and discuss this in detail and come back at the next board meeting and make a suggestion.
That
Is
would
it-
be fine.
That's
It's
fine.
a complicated subject, and Willie is right. It really may affect the way we recruit people, and that's important.
Hasn't
the
been an
point
issue
is-
in the last, 30 years. So I think that there's a lot of time being spent on kind of a not so important issue, but only my opinion.
Yeah. Our dues at $15
I agree
are
with you.
probably
Yeah.
are
it's not
probably the
worth it.
lowest dues of any club
Exactly.
organization I've ever heard of.
Right, right.
I'm going to point it out again, and then I'll just shut up and get off my soapbox. It's not the dollars; it's the membership. If somebody, even if it's $1, if they're not signing up on January 1st and it goes all the way till June, and they still haven't renewed their dues, then they're still not a member. Whether it's $1 or 50 cents, it doesn't matter if it's $15. Like I said,
Willie, just so you know, in the past, what's happened is that I would say 95% of the current members will renew by March 1st. And that's really kind of what we do. So it's been such a minute few, but yeah, I would say 95%, like all of us on now and all of those that come regularly will all renew by March 1st. And they'll get reminders between now and then.
Okay, and we can take this offline as Hank suggested.
Yes.
And Alice has lots of corporate memory, so I suggest you volunteer yourself, Alice.
Nope, not me.
I would just like to recommend that be an item in the minutes, and it will be an item on the agenda for next month.
And I will welcome any ideas on a different reporting system.
Okay, moving forward, any old business to pursue? I don't know of any new business. All right, none. Director at large comments. Ray Slater, would you like to make any observations?
No, I just think we're spending too much time on that last issue. But I'm fine with it.
Arlene Way, do you have any comments?
Nothing special, but just
Okay.
happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays. Jim Fagacci, would you like to observe? I don't see him here today.
Yeah,
No.
not there.
And Saul is here?
Yes.
The only thing that comes to mind is something Hank brought up at a prior time, not today, that he said he might want to mention during this meeting. And that was why we are not going to be doing in-person meetings for reasons of insurance and venues.
Hank, do you want to address that any further than we have? Or do you think we have pretty well put it to bed?
I think we pretty well put it to bed, except that as I said, one specific person who is a member at this moment is not going to renew and ask me to take her off the invitation list for these Zoom meetings because we are not meeting in person. That was the reason that she used to come to the seniors computer group, for the physical camaraderie.
Yeah, I understand that, but that's, like they say, a cost of doing business. That's the way it is now.
And
Sorry
we
about that.
also have several that if we go to just in person, we're going to lose some people. So we have gained more people than we have lost by doing it this way.
I agree, but I thought I ought to tell you all of
No.
this change.
And so
Okay,
Saul asked the question and you answered it.
right.
Yeah, I
Alice,
just,
do you have any observation?
Nope, just happy holidays to everybody. Enjoy.
Stan, there are three other attendees that are not board members that may have some comments. Paul Mack, Dan Eberhardt, and Bobby.
Okay, do our guests have any observations? Dan has a comment? Yes, Dan.
Yes, I would like to address the problem of the cloud. Hank, I think Hank was talking about the cloud. When we had K-Plug meetings, the president of K-Plug used to have a card he handed out that said, "There is no cloud. It's someone else's computer." That's about that. And the other comment I had was on the bank, where you had some help from a personal assistant at a bank. I've had a lot of problems with a bank recently, and it's Union Bank, and they couldn't seem to handle a debit card that I got from the federal government, or from state government, not the federal government, and they couldn't seem to handle a savings bond. And when I asked them for online access to my account, they told me I had to have a debit card to have online access to my account, which doesn't even make sense to me. But anyway, I'm still working with them, and US Bank has bought them out, so things may change shortly.
Okay, Dan, that might be something you want to bring up at the general Q&A. You might get more response there. Will, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Miriam, does anyone else have the banking information that you have as to access to the account, or where it is, or what it is? I know nothing about it, and I don't need to. Question is,
well-
does anybody else on our board know?
Yes, I do, because I'm the contact with PayPal for moving money through PayPal to that bank. So I have, when we get a set of dues from some person, I get the notice from PayPal that we have money in our PayPal account. And then I have to move it from our PayPal account to our bank.
Okay.
My question would be to Miriam, does she have a shadow who can take over in case she becomes incapacitated?
I do not. I think that probably Ray Schlater still could access the account. I don't know that unless he asked to be removed, he's probably still on there. But that's a good idea. Do you want to suggest someone to whom I can arrange for them to have access?
I think all officers should have someone to shadow them. The general principle, all officers should have somebody shadowing them to take over their duties on database, on finances, on website, on email. Anything that you're doing that you feel is crucial to the organization, you should have someone backing you up.
Renee,
Okay, I'm gonna ask Saul if he would like to be that person for me.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, I will, I'll talk to you on the telephone in the next few days and find out from Torrey Pines Bank what information they need from you in order to have access to it.
That's fine.
Okay,
Membership
like
is
to say-
critical.
I no longer have any access to the bank account. But there is a way to add people to the account, and you have to go through the process of adding them. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but
it was a little work.
the bank can tell you.
Yeah, we had a little work, but I will do that because I think that's a good thing.
Okay, thank you. Hank, you have your hand
I'd like
up.
to know who would volunteer to be the alternate webmaster and the alternate person that sets up this meeting every Saturday morning, and the alternate vice president for programs who needs to have a program scheduled every Saturday.
So
How
I
many hands do I see?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Hank, on the Zoom meeting part, I will help with that because I'm already established with APCUG.
Great. Okay.
And I would like to ask, Willie, do you use Access database?
I have used it. I have access to Access.
Okay, you're the only one that I know that does that, and it needs to be somebody who can work with Access that can take over the existing membership database. So I'll talk to you more about that.
Okay, yes, I just
Very
completed a
good.
course in it last semester, so up on SQL.
So
Excellent.
I'm going to put a note in the meetings that next meeting on the agenda, we will see if we can actually go through and get all of the duties and the primaries and backups assigned.
Very good. Thank you, David.
I-
All right, next meeting is January 14th. Again,
Just a
by
minute.
Zoom, courtesy
Stan?
of AppSec.
Stan,
Hank? Yes,
do we have to do anything about the election?
no, it's been done. In my understanding, it's been done.
It got done last
Yeah, it
month.
is done and correct and final.
Thank you.
And actually technically Willie, because it was a vacant position, technically Willie became publicity right away.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, I adjourn the meeting. There's no objection.
No.
Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. I turn the meeting, oh, Saul, do you have a comment before?
No, I'm just in line for Q&A.
Okay, Hank and Will, over to you.
Okay, I saw.
Mr. Schumer,
So my question is for Stan, when he was talking earlier during the board meeting about his Google Photos and such. I just want to clarify so we understand, at least I understand what he was referring to. Stan, are you using a Photos app of some sort on your Windows computer? And are you saying that that was shared with Google Photos to sync up those photos?
At some time in the distant past, I shared my photos with Google Photos. And I could show you what it looks like.
Let me clarify. Windows has a folder called Photos, is that correct?
Yes,
Is that the folder you shared with Google?
I believe so, yes.
You answered my question.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions, computer related or other questions anyone might have? I don't see any problems out there.
Will, I did have one question, which I think I probably understand, but you can answer it. On the reports that you generate, like the people attending the meetings and such, or even the membership reports, those are exported out of Access into Excel and then you present them. Is that correct?
The membership report, yes, that comes from Access. And I export those to Excel, correct. The other one is straight where it shows the Zoom attendees. That is a straight Excel spreadsheet.
Okay, so on that second one, I was wondering why the totals are just numbers and they're not formulas. You know, Excel can count. So when it counts down the column, it can do the math for you.
Okay. I didn't know how to count the number of X's.
I'll work with you on it.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you. Okay, other questions, comments?
Well, on that note, Saul, you sent me that spreadsheet from there, and I've already modified it to do exactly that.
There you go.
Because I prefer to work with data rather than just hand pick stuff. And if you put members and non-members all together in one and just put an X for membership or not, you can just filter it by members or whatever. It's
And
No. What
to
are we
me,
talking
to
about?
me, that's what I do for fun.
Is
So I
this the
just-
membership report or is this the Zoom member?
the Zoom
report?
stuff?
Oh, the Zoom member
There's
report?
a couple errors on there too, and Saul, you probably noticed it.
The
13 should be-
attendees is the
Yeah.
point that
Are the
report.
attendees, the numbers at the bottom are not
the
correct?
attendees.
And
Those-
what
those-
Willie and I both agree on is let Excel do the work.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the one thing I don't do with this is have it automatically count the number of X's.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a really nice little topic for either Willie or Saul or both of them together to show us how to do such things.
It's
Whenever you want.
it's just one of the many count functions in Excel.
And there are lots. It would be a wonderful little topic to do. Don't you think so, Hank?
Well, I'm just suggesting, David, that it's not big enough for a presentation.
Well, as you said, there's more account functions.
Yeah,
that you could talk
I would
about.
agree. Excel is your friend if you know how to use it, even just for budgeting and stuff. You know, engineers that do database and that are really good at all that. But there's a lot of things you can use and incorporate just the simple functions. I think we've done it before, but I think it's always a good one. Haven't been done for a while.
I might be able to do that. I use Excel every week to add up my it's not my net worth. It's what I have at Fidelity. And I really don't want to share that with everybody.
But I think the main thing
Impressive.
when you say that,
But-
Hank, it makes me think it's going to get too complicated. It's such a simple thing. And when people do presentations, they have a tendency to on Excel or Access to make it too complicated. And I think for the audience that we have, just the simple functions, just the math capabilities and some of the codes you can put in functions.
Well, if anybody's interested, I could show it right now if you wanted.
Yeah, I'd like to see the count function.
I mean, how do I just share my screen or however?
You can share your screen if you'd like. And Will, I was just distinguishing between the two reports because I thought they were just exported out of Access and it was just putting the total number in, and that's why there wasn't a formula. But you've made the distinction there between the two reports.
Yeah, they're different. Yeah. Yeah, Access does have a count function, and I didn't know that Excel did.
Can anybody see what I'm doing?
Yeah, I
Yes, we
can.
see your screen.
Okay, so this here's what Saul sent to me. This is the baseline.
Mhm.
I always like to keep a baseline of what I'm working with. So I just highlighted in blue, I just highlighted the board meetings, not that it makes a difference, but
Mhm.
then down here I highlighted an error because that says 13. And really, if you just go like this, and there's two ways you can do this. You can scroll up to the to the beginning of the column and just, sorry, hold on. Just highlight the column that you're interested in, and you can scroll down to where you want your total, right here. That's the number of X's. And if you look down here at the bottom, it says count 15.
Where,
So
where does it say that?
Down at the bottom of my screen, it says count 15. If you see my cursor down here at the bottom, it says
I
count
don't-
number of selected cells that
Oh,
contain
yes.
data.
It's at the very bottom of what he's sharing. And
Oh,
it's
number of selected
at the very
cells that
bottom of the
contain da,
window.
da, da.
Yeah,
There it is,
yeah.
count 15. All
Well,
right.
I mean, that's always been there, but you can also just, if you click on it, it automatically puts it into your clipboard. So not that that matters, because that's not really what I want to show. So if I put my clipboard there, it's 15. But
Yeah.
really what you want to do is you want to say down here, if
Mhm.
this is leaving the 13 there, because like I said, I
Yeah.
don't like to mess
Oh,
with the
no,
data.
change it to 15 if that's the right number.
Well,
Well, not
this
that,
is my
yeah.
sheet. It's not your sheet.
Sure, okay.
Anyway, if you, what I like to do, I like to work in tables. So you just turn it into a table, which is a whole nother process. But anyway, same data, just it's in a table format. And with a table format, you can, what I've done is I've added in every participant, doesn't matter whether you're a member or not, because there's an X for membership. So you can just go down here and say, well, here's the number of people. And this is sort of what we're talking about, is the formula for here is subtotal, and it's basically counting the number of people that attended, that the total number of people that are ever here.
Correct.
Well, I've already made it a little bit more complicated than it's worth, but this includes all the participants from November to December. And again, what I like to do is I like to use real date numbers, because then you can manipulate dates. So it's a little bit changing the format. Let me go back to the original here. So if this point right here, if I wanted to count at the, I'll put it right here. I'll just say equals. I delete it first. Okay. Nope. Escape screws you up. I think. Let's try this again. Delete. Okay. Equals. And if I say count A means it's going to count the number of cells that are not empty. So then I just go up to the beginning of this column that I want to count,
You select the range.
select the range. See, I'm in the wrong range. Well,
I'm afraid we're boring a lot of our members.
No,
Yeah,
count
well,
A
yeah,
is the function I was referring to.
right. I unfortunately just cursor movements on Zoom don't work as smoothly as in real life, but
As Willie said, it just counts the non-empty cells. So it doesn't matter what the character is in each cell.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there a good function for, if you had like a yeses and nos, and you wanted to count the yeses separate from the nos?
yes, you can do that.
There are functions to match the value in the cell to a particular character or
Yeah.
string or whatever.
I mean, I'd like to make it here. I'll just try it and see if it'll work. Can you see my cursor now? Okay, so equals, if you say count if, okay, that's giving it an if statement. It counts the number of cells within a range that meet a given criteria. So I can do the same thing with count if, and I'll just say N3, because I can't really go up and look at it. N3 to N. It's right below where I am, N27, let's just say 27. So I've given it a range to count, and then I have to give it a criteria. I'm going to say, give me all the cells in there that have a yes in there, a Y. Doesn't matter if it's capital or not. That's just something you have to know. And it says there are 5 Ys in that column. So it's the same thing. So if I stuck a no here, it's still going to come up with 5 Ys, because a no is not a Y. Or N is not a Y. So
And if you changed a Y to an N, then the number would change.
hopefully it'll come out to 1 if I change that to an N. So there's 1. So there's 1 N in that column. So if you double click on the cell, it gives you the range that you're working with. It highlights the range. So
Mhm.
I picked 3 because I really wasn't sure where the data started from. It actually starts from N4, but Mac is not included. So it doesn't really matter. Mac is not a Y or an N. So it says, nope, I'm not going to count that. But I could stick a N here, another Y here, and or it doesn't matter really. And then at the bottom, it's still
Then now there's two ends.
so it comes up with 2 because there's 2 ends. So yeah, so there's count A counts all cells with that are not empty. Count counts cells that have numbers in them, and then count if you can give the criteria for what you want to look for. And there's a lot of other count functions in there, but that's the easiest one.
How did you get that number to come down in the lower right-hand corner?
Well, when you highlight any number of cells, that highlight comes down here as a count.
Oh, I see. Okay,
And-
thank you.
But
And then-
you can change that. You can have average, max, min. There's all sorts of, they call them task line or
Right. Okay. That's a function I didn't know about.
status line data that can come down here, and it's just for quick use. So like I say, in the latest version of Excel, they allow you to just click on that and it puts it into your clipboard. So then I can just paste it here. Control V is paste, and it puts that number down there. It's just a number, so it's not a formula. It's not associated with anything. If you want to do a quick analysis of something, I mean, I'll give you another example. If I go to this sheet here, and I want to count the number of members in here, right? First of all, I can go to membership here and I could say, only give me people that are members. So get rid of all the blanks. And these are people that are members out of the whole list of people, right? So it's just filtering the membership. There should be 11 of them, I think. So if I go here and I highlight all the cells that are shown here down to, let's see if I can get it go down there. Okay, down to Barbara Wilkinson. And then down here, it's got count 25. Well, now it's not, now it's counting all the people, I believe. So it's counting the cells that are hidden, and that's not really a good thing, but what can I tell you? So filtering or not filtering, it's still counting the same. Their filter. It's still
My hand up, so I'm going to recognize myself.
Never mind.
I will bet you that there is a YouTube video on this subject that is clear and of an appropriate length that would be interesting to anybody who shows up on this for these sessions. And I wonder if Willie would go look and see if he can find one that covers not just the things that he has said, but other things that many people might want to use to summarize a given column.
Sort of the tips of using Excel.
Well, what I like to think of is if somebody has if people generally use Excel and then they say, gee, how can I, that's usually what you can search for. How can I count the number of cells? Because if you don't know the capabilities, then you don't have to count them by hand. There's 16 different ways to do it, anything in Excel. But as an example over here, you can see the Board of Governors right here, right? So I just put the title up there and then I said, okay, extract from this table here, extract only those that have, give me the last name of people that are part of the board with an X in the board column. So that's all the board members right here. So I don't have to go there and look at it and count X's and all that stuff. I'm asking you to filter that whole table here. And the table includes non-board members and non-members at all. Just give me the Board of Governors that have X's in there. And that comes from the data that Saul just sent me. And these are why you itemize Mac users, I don't know, but that was a check mark in there. So those are the people that have Mac computers. So if you add somebody at the bottom of the list, it automatically updates that report. And you can, it's just like Access database. You can filter it any way you want, as long as you know what to ask for.
So those are effectively access queries in taking up cells on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yes, I took, like I said, I took a 8-week course in Access, and I found nothing that Access could provide that Excel could not provide, because it's really just a matter of, it's a larger database. You can do a lot more things with it, but you have to know what to ask. And once you know the query language, it's pretty simple, but Excel is just another form of a query language. It's just not as extensive. It only has 17 million cells.
What
Access has 100 million. So,
what I've been told about Access, it's different from Excel, is the relational characteristics of Access, to have relations between two different
all of the keys that, the primary keys, foreign keys, and that sort of
Yeah.
stuff that you use to link various tables together. You can do that with various sheets within an Excel spreadsheet thing, but it's not its natural, normal way of doing it, where that is what Access is built for.
Yeah, it gets
That's
very
right.
complex if you try to do it in Excel with multiple sheets. Whereas in Access, you don't have multiple sheets. You do have multiple tables and queries and things like that, but it's much cleaner than it would be to do it in Excel. And
it's
as Hank says, the relational ability is really great.
Well,
Yeah.
before I started my class, when I was, like I said, when I took the class through the community college district, I was searching for data to use as an example in my Access class. And I couldn't find anything that was extensive enough and had relationships to be able to do that. So I'm still waiting for an application. If I can look at your Access and say, hey, that really does make life a lot easier than Excel, I'd be thrilled, because I'm dying to. I was going to take the course again next semester.
Okay, I'll send it
Just
to
see
you.
first.
Yeah,
fact, look at it.
The
I
course is
think
offered.
that
You can take an
every-
Access course for
So,
free.
I think an application for Excel would be something like a corporation that has clients and another database of salespeople, another database of board members, things like that, that has multiple sets of information that need to be merged at times, but are usually kept separate. And a membership database seems to me to lend itself to a spreadsheet more than a relational database.
Well, I can show you what we do with our relational database, and it does a lot of stuff I can't do in Excel easily.
So Willie, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, if you're looking for a good place to find examples for stuff, you go into any sort of, system that is got a a class structure where you've got, classes and hierarchies of stuff. All those relationships or classes, those map perfectly onto relational tables, and all of the links between the classes are foreign keys. And so they tend to use a relational database to store the network of all of the class instances when they're doing things. So that's one of the ways that you almost inherently get a nice nice set of relations between instances of different classes.
Yeah,
Which-
I mean, I understand the concept. It was that I have not found a practical application in my own spreadsheet world. I mean, I download a lot of stuff from the internet. I got all sorts of cross-reference teams and their batting average for every person in the MLB. It still can fit on a spreadsheet. I
Mhm.
can make a sheet for every team, 32 teams in the league, with every player, the rosters, everything I can put into a spreadsheet and still pull up the information I want.
And-
Because
and-
there's really nothing that crosses over except for that foreign key, the local key and the foreign key or whatever. And that's really just mapping one to something else and something else to one to many, many to one.
Yeah, but it-
That's
What
our
if you wanted to
correction.
know all the players in all the leagues that have a certain criteria?
Mhm.
How do you do that with multiple sheets?
That's doable. It's absolutely doable.
Okay,
As long as there's a it's just like, I mean, Access and Excel were pretty much developed by the same group of people. I mean, it was database people. But if you work in tables like you see on my screen right here, the table is basically just similar to an access table. It's really just a table that has a name, and you can column. In fact, in Google Sheets, which is a similar language to Excel, Google Sheets is a spreadsheet language. They now have, and they always have, but they now are emphasizing database language. So you can actually use the same SQL syntax in a Google Sheet to ask for columns. You can say, give me all the columns from this table that are equivalent to that table with a common column, and it will do that. But yeah, you can do that in Excel. I do multiple sheets, multiple columns. I can link multiple spreadsheets that are different, completely different files. I can cross-reference files. It's not once you know the syntax of how to do it, it's not a problem. The problem I have with databases is it's all a function of what question you ask. If I pose to you, if I have all the data on baseball players in the league for this year, let's say this year that just ended, and I said, give me all the left-handed pitchers that threw 4 strikes or more on a Sunday, I challenge anybody with a database to be able to extract that information, because unless you know how to ask the right question, it's hard to get an answer. And somehow on TV, they come up with these stats, like the last time somebody hit a ball 450 feet or more in this stadium. Yeah, it's all there in the data, but to ask the right question is always the hard part.
And Willie, I would say that some people would find it as hard to figure out how to ask the question in Excel as apparently you find it hard to ask the question in a relational database. I think it's a matter of where you grew up, what seems normal and reasonable.
By the way,
I agree.
Miriam Davis is also a database programmer, right? Miriam,
Hang on.
you've been doing this for more years than I believe.
Well, yes, but I haven't done it a lot in the last maybe 10, 15 years. So I haven't kept up. But I think in listening to you guys, what I learned was it's the tool you know that makes the difference.
Right.
Absolutely.
But you've been doing it for what, 40 years plus?
I've been doing it since the late 80s.
Oh, late 80s. I thought it was the early 80s.
No, early 80s.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that's like
Early.
40 plus years.
That's a long time. That's a long time.
So I want to thank Willie for showing us the count A function in Excel, because it really is that simple. Okay. And I know he went on to cover various other ways because there were other questions of what about if you're trying to match the value and all that stuff. But just to let people know, what I do when I don't remember what the name of the function is I go to help in Excel, and the help system there, and I say, count empty cells or whatever, blank cells, something, and it'll tell me what the function is. So it's not like I have all this memorized, but I know how to use it.
Well, thank you, Willie. I can use that in this report.
Yeah, I'll try and unshare now.
Do we have any more hands that wish to be either waived or called up by reactions for our Q&A?
There's a stop sharing. Yeah, I found it. Good.
No, I stopped to sharing. That's okay.
Thank you, Saul. I'm not really good at moving around in Excel.
It's okay.
I mean,
Zoom is not
Zoom.
always intuitive.
All right, well, I am still looking for a subject for next week. I know David volunteered to do some more travelogue, but I agree with someone who sort of asked him, is that really technical enough? That it probably isn't if I can find something else. And the something else might well be the subject of where is the cloud? I've got I've got to dig some more into that with my happy hour friend who he thinks, for example, that his banking information is stored on a computer that is owned by the bank somewhere physically. And that if he could go into that space and find the memory disks on which his banking information is stored and hit it with a baseball bat, that all of a sudden there wouldn't be any cloud containing his banking information. And I don't agree with him.
Yeah, they tend to get, in some ways, you can have, the bank can subcontract to someone else to do the cloud services for them. It's probably what happens. And also any server like that will probably have multiple backups on things so that, if part A goes down, then they have another copy over on, disk drive Z.
Yeah.
And then when they repair drive A, it'll get synced back from disk drive Z. So now they have at least 2 or several copies available at any one time. And if you're any good, they're in different physical locations, so you can't blow up the entire building and get them.
So Dan has his hand up.
Yes, I'm sure all these cloud computers have multiple backups. So I don't know where it is, but they managed to keep it stored somewhere. That's interesting article in today's paper about all the computer power that these Bitcoin companies use, which I don't really understand. But where are those computers? That's the next question, right?
They're all over, and they do consume a huge amount of energy. And Hank, if you want to have a discussion on the cloud, I'd be happy to have one offline with you.
Yeah.
They're talking about how much coal they use to power these computers, and you have to know where the computer is and what energy supply it's using before you can start talking about things like that.
I think when we get down to no more Q's and no more A's, let's you and I stay on here, Saul, and I'm the host and you're the co-host. So if everybody else disappears, you and I can have a separate conversation. And anybody who wants to stick around and listen is welcome to do so, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, Dan brings up a good point that maybe an interesting program might be a discussion of cryptocurrency.
How to lose your fortune?
Or how to make a fortune.
That's too deep for me.
Ask the guy at FTX.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of folks out there that are millionaires too, as a result of it.
Why aren't you?
Because I don't play with crypto at all. I
Thank you.
stay away. But I'd be interested in learning more about it.
It seems to be collapsing right now.
Yeah, it's all based on trust, and there's things you can do that erode trust very quickly.
I find that world shaky enough that I am reluctant to sponsor a discussion of it here.
Okay.
For fear that somebody will go out and sink their whole world into it and lose everything as a result of something that happened at the Seniors Computer Group Zoom meeting. And I don't want to be part of that.
Good point. I guess we've run out of questions.
I think so. I'm going to start. Well, I suggest that those who don't want to talk about the cloud, click end and then click leave meeting.
Willie has a hand up.
Yeah,
Willie.
just, since we're on the subject of clouds and power sources and whatnot, Ross had mentioned something a couple of meetings ago about solarsendit.net. And it turns out that if you actually do a little bit of digging into that, they have a whole solar powered server farm that is used, and they're basically a very low carbon footprint for server uses. And, basically it's a server. And if you actually dig down into this is all just trivia, but if you dig down into where they're located, they're like in the middle of a desert. They're in farmland, and the guy's got, a building that he's got a bunch of computers in and a bunch of solar panels. But yet he serves, I think, Ross, it was for, what was the product that they served was
So
email server or faxes or.
okay, again, you're correct. It's called Solar Send It. And it's an alternative if you're trying to send something large through an email or transfer it to somebody, kind of like a Dropbox, but there's no charge, there's no sign up, there's no nothing. So you can upload a gigabyte of information that you have in your computer. It will accept it into their server and create a URL link that you include in an email to somebody. Their other end clicks on it and it is automatically downloaded into their computer. There is no setup. There's no fee. You can set it up there for an hour. You can set it up there for a week. But if you're saying I need to send something large and email won't do that large, then this is an easy way to do it.
I understand that Gmail, if you want to send something larger than 25 megabyte, I believe.
Gigabytes. You're right. Excuse me. You're right. 25
Yeah,
meg.
25 megs, that they have a system where they will do it automatically for you.
I do that every week through Gmail. I send a complete copy of my Quicken file, which is 61 megabytes, to my daughter, because if I disappear in a puff of smoke, she's got to continue to pay the bills on the trust.
So when you say
Where is-
attach that particular
Yeah.
file,
You hold on, I'll share my screen and show you how I do that. Because it's really simple. Just a minute. I need to go to Google. And then I need to go to Gmail. I'm doing this, you're not seeing it, but you will in a minute. Okay. We'll go back to Zoom. I will share screen. The screen I will share is Gmail. There.
Okay, we see your Gmail screen.
here we see it.
I'm not sure, Hank may be frozen again.
You might be.
Is there a limit to the file size that you can send via Gmail?
10 gig.
10 gig?
There. Okay, I'm back. I got dumped again. Let me see if I can, in fact, oops. Okay. Are you seeing any share screen? Any
No.
Not currently.
It just went away.
That probably means I just went away.
Oh, you're still here. We can hear you.
I think
Good.
it was shared from your previous.
Okay,
instance.
there we go. Here's a new message.
Okay.
Send it to my daughter the way I usually do.
Mhm.
And the subject is going to be Quicken. And I'm going to share, I'm going to attach a file. And the files that I attach are going to be in documents and in Quicken in this one. And here's the file. Now, you see what it says? your file is larger than 25 megabytes, it'll be sent as a Google Drive link. And it is now working up towards 61.2 megabytes, which will take longer than I want to bore you here. Well, we're about halfway there. Okay, wait a minute.
When she gets it, she'll get QData QDF.
Hold on.
I think he got bumped off.
My question would be, what happens on her end?
She gets an email with a link in it. She clicks on the link. It takes her to the file that's on Google's server and downloads it.
Okay, and it comes down as the original file
Yeah.
type. Yeah, not the QDF.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Works like a charm.
And anybody can do that. They do not have to have a Google account. That was my concern, but I just looked that up and said, nope, anybody can get it.
So Ross, why would we need this other thing like solar that you described earlier?
Fewer steps on both sides. Easier for you to send and easier for someone else to receive. So if you just,
Also, well, not everybody has a Google account.
you don't have to have a Google account.
My point
Okay.
exactly, your point exactly, Ross.
Okay. Well, that's
Stan.
good to know.
Okay.
Stan, you're muted.
So Will, just out of curiosity, how big is your access file, database file?
Not sure. It's pretty big.
I mean,
I
is it
don't know.
something we should try this out with
Sure.
the Google
Yeah.
link or?
Yeah, I can send it to you and you can, you have,
Stan's ready to talk now.
Okay, if I may, speaking of Google Drive, I'm still getting warnings that I'm running out of space. And I find on this PC, I find the Google Drive and I click on properties and it says there's 0 in it. And I'm puzzled by why it's telling me that I am running out of space when I look at through this PC and I look at the different folders and drives that I have available. But I don't see anything that is in Google Drive.
have you looked at and see how many emails you have?
Stan,
Yes, and
Stan, you said you shared all your photos up to Google.
But yes,
That's
Those
it.
take up space.
You have one account with Google for everything that you use Google for up to 15 gigabytes.
okay, I'm trying to see how to reduce the amount of space that I have. And I can share my screen. And am I sharing? Okay. Am I?
You're sharing a different monitor, I think.
We're seeing your full screen there. Okay, there we are.
Okay, here we are. I'm looking at this PC and Google Drive.
Okay, but that's called, that's just a local drive G on your machine.
Yeah, but how do I? We don't have to address this now, but this is where I went to see why do I have stuff there.
So I think you're misunderstanding our comments, sir. You have an account with Google for 15 gigabytes for any service that you have with Google. So your Google Photos, your Google email, those are using up the 15 gig. You need to go into your Google account and click on Manage Your Account and then scroll down to Amount Storage. Not there, sir.
Okay.
So yeah, you're going to be going on the web and going to the
Go.
Google Drive. Yeah.
There, up the upper right. Click.
Upper right.
Yeah, you're right there, and we're right below where it says sync on. Click on manage. One more down. And then you should be able to scroll down to see how much is being used.
Okay. Where do I see?
Security data.
Yeah, Ross, I just open Drive up from the little checkerboard 9 dots and then.
Yeah. That's the way I do it too. Stanley,
Yeah, over down to Drive there.
But
Go
the
to-
drive isn't his issue. He has nothing in the Google Drive.
Well, no, okay, I don't know. He was looking on his local computer.
You're
It's-
correct. And he was looking there, but
What if you click on drive there? 83% used.
Yeah,
click on learn more on the upper right-hand side. And the same yellow bar where it says you've used 80%. There, go to the first link. Google Com settings storage.
Is that right? Or,
No, go back one. Where it is says, see how much spaces you have left on your computer. And it says, go to, stop there, sir. Stop, go to the left.
and
Where it says
above-
google.com setting storage in blue.
A little up and to the right.
There you go.
you've used 83% of your storage.
got that. How do I get rid of some, see what's
Keep on
taken?
going. Keep on going down, sir. There you go.
Okay, Google Photos is using that. Google Mail is using something else.
Yeah, there's 12, 13 out of 15.
Okay, so let's see how I can reduce the amount of Gmail. I've deleted a lot of stuff.
Did you empty the deleted folder?
Well, maybe not.
I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Yeah, this is a good subject. I'm learning a lot.
Okay,
Okay, so this is email,
right.
and so I got 20,000 messages.
In your inbox, yes.
Okay. So
Go down.
oldest,
On the left-hand side, where click on more down below inbox.
right here.
No, to the left under inbox. There you go. And go down to trash. Okay, so you have 14,000 in there.
14,000, delete forever. Okay.
Then select, and then select all 14,000 conversations.
Yeah, go over to the, just to the right of the middle, where
Yeah.
it says select all 14,000.
The blue line, right
There.
below where your mouse cursor.
Below
go
you,
down
below,
Oh,
select.
okay.
and empty trash now. $
14,567 messages will disappear.
All right.
I'm glad to learn about that.
All right. So it's all in Google and Gmail.
Not
But a
all,
lot was photos. You had like 5 gigs of
Yeah,
photos.
about
5
half
gigs.
of it, half it was in Gmail and half was in,
Yeah, I could lose a Gmail. I don't want to lose the photos.
yeah.
Well, again, they offered for you to spend a little money and get more space. Also, you can take it up to 50 for
Okay,
about buck a month, I think.
And it said 49 cents a month, didn't it?
okay, but if I got a lot of old Gmails that email that I don't want, I would rather get rid of that.
Right. So if you look on the left-hand column, that's gray now, you can't go down there. It says promotions and you got 20, there you go, 20,000 promotions.
Okay,
So you can more likely get rid of most of those, if not
Yeah,
all.
there you go. 22,000. Whoa.
okay, that's a good one. Let's go with that. And
Clear selection.
No, no, no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
no.
no,
Once you
no.
go to,
You want to go,
Delete.
now you hit delete.
delete, okay. And okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Now the question is, did those just get moved to trash?
No, I think they'll go forever,
Okay,
but we can go back and look at the trash just to make sure. Because I think that was the option to say delete those forever.
Ooh, there's a bunch.
You're
Empty
right.
trash.
You can go
oh,
back
it's
in
still
They
working.
must have gone to trash.
empty the trash. Go ahead
It's still,
and say, okay. It looks like it might still be emptying the old emails that you had in there from before, along
Okay.
with new
yeah. Yeah,
promotions.
there's a thing at the top
Yeah,
says
it's
loading.
still
Yeah,
loading.
yeah.
Right. It takes a while for that to happen.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think you've helped me very much on this.
You've helped me a lot
Who would
too.
like- Who would like to summarize how you got to this place of cleaning it out? Ross?
Well, you do it under account, you go up, to manage your account. And then it tells me here, we're supposed to go manage your account and then go down to account storage.
Okay,
Manage account and then account storage.
Right. That's how Tom's guide says this is how you do it.
okay.
who? Tom's,
Tom's guide.
I don't know, Tom.
He's been around a long time.
It's been around, yes, a long time and primarily for hardware. So if you wanted to find something out about a new fast solid state drive or video card or main computer, Tom's guide would be a place to go look for information on that.
What comes after manage account? What's the next step after manage account?
You would scroll down to look at your size.
Account storage, I think you said, yes.
Right. Okay, so let me take this, copy this, go back to here, to Zoom. Okay. And chat. Okay, to everyone. Paste. Okay, so I'm just pasting a link to Google to say how you get a summary of your data in your Google account. So
Okay, thank you.
that's in the chat.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to Zoom now.
There's a chat. Ah, that's the link.
I don't think there's anybody in our group that has that issue, but I deal with people, a couple people a week that are running out of space in their Office 365 account, which is 50 gigabytes. And then you can create an archive file on your local computer that you can put information into. Again, that archive file can be a maximum of 50 gig. That's a limit in the size of the file as far as Microsoft rules are. You can't have anything more than 50 in the one file. But you can create multiple. So if you run out of room in the first archive, you create an archive 2, and then you get another 50. And that's not amount of money that there's no way to spend more money at Microsoft to say, I want more than 50 in my in my Office 365 email account. 50 is it.
Okay, it was suggested a little while back that that Sal and I stay on here and talk to each other, maybe will, about where is the cloud? Sal volunteered to talk about where is the cloud. So those who don't want to do that are welcome to click end and then leave meeting.
Okay.
But I don't see any, I see one. Sal, don't you wave goodbye.
Waving to David.
Okay, and I will prepare the minutes. And to whom should I send the minutes? To Hank or Stanley or everyone, or what?
You should have a list of board members in
Yep.
any of my messages. I included a list of board members. The minutes should go to the board members.
Good enough.
I will put them on the website.
Okay,
And,
I will-
and David, if you want me to review them before they get distributed, I'd be happy to do that.
well, thank you, Saul. You'll be first on my list then. Okay, bye-bye.
A bit of trivia before we leave. We talk about terabytes, but a terabyte is a trillion bytes. And we talk about $1 trillion, and I calculated via Excel that if you count $1 trillion one every second, it takes you 32,000 years.
That's definitely trivia, but not trivial.
Correct. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye, folks.
The politician can do it quicker.
You're right. I don't think they understand what $1 trillion is.
Okay, Sal, you're up. You volunteered to tell me where the cloud is.
So to answer the questions that your friend raised with you, there were basically two. One is, does the bank own the server, the computer basically, where the bank account information is stored? And my guess would be probably not, because banks aren't in the technology business, they're in the money business. And so they probably outsource that to somebody such as Amazon, who is in the technology business. And the other question is it on a single computer? And again, the odds are no, because it's really good to replicate data in case one of those things goes bad, a drive in it. And also for the reason, if you take an example of something like Google, if you have Google Photos like Stan has, okay, and he's got them stored up there and he travels around the world, he needs access to his photos or email or whatever it is. That stuff gets replicated all over the world on some outfit like that. Because if you're in Singapore, they want you to get the data from a server near Singapore and not near San Diego or London. And so there are multiple computers that replicate the data, generally speaking, that's across the world. And this existed before the term cloud was in use. It's just that companies that had offices across the world had external networks, basically like the internet, and they had servers at each of their locations that they did own on their own. And that stuff gets synced up with one another so that if one goes down, they're not dead. They can go to one a little further away. It might be a little slower going across the internet, but as opposed to getting it locally, right where they're located there. But so data is replicated a lot, even in a single company, even if they weren't have other offices. Generally, you should always have multiple backup main file servers so that if one goes down for whatever reason, the power supply goes out or something, it automatically will switch over to a backup computer that's been kept in sync with it all along so that there's no downtime.
Interesting. One of the things I'm concerned about now is if we ever get a full grid, electrical grid shutdown, mainly because we'd have a solar flare. But a grid shutdown for more than, say, a few days and going into weeks and months, which they say could happen because the power stations get, transformers get destroyed, could take a long time. And I don't know how long I could exist with no electricity at all. So I'm looking at alternate methods to do it. And I would like to just use my solar power, my solar panels. But the problem with that is that if you don't have an electrical grid connection, the solar panels don't work. So I got to find a way around that.
That's not true. There's off-grid properties with solar panels and battery backup.
True, but for my particular situation where I'm leasing the solar panels, they
That-
say I
Yeah,
cannot do
in
that.
your particular situation, that may be true. Okay.
But I
And you don't,
expect it's true for many people, because it does require that the solar panels be hooked into the grid so that you do pump energy out to the grid. So I don't know how true this is that everybody has a problem with having the panels work if you don't have an electrical grid connection.
they're just solar panels, Will. Just think about it. They just provide energy. You
That's
can put
true.
those into batteries locally and not be connected to any grid.
Do
people
you
do
have
this.
solar panels?
No, I don't, but it's
Okay.
for other reasons. But the point is, I know people who are off grid, not personally, but I mean, I've been online and I see people that have off grid properties and there is no grid. And yet they
No,
have
I know-
solar
I know
panels
that.
and batteries and it powers their home.
That's correct. If your system does not require you be connected to the grid.
Yeah, this is
Obviously
a
you don't have to.
contractual thing with your solar panels.
Well, I think it's for most solar panels that are in a city
I don't know.
setting and not.
Tesla's selling a lot of batteries and homes for off, to capture the energy rather
know,
than
so
send
Tesla
it
has
to the grid at a
Yeah.
mere pennies on the dollar, that the grid isn't going to pay you for that energy much.
That's right. Tesla, I looked into that and it costs about $20,000.
Yeah,
to
they're
do
very
that.
expensive batteries.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can do better than Tesla
Yeah.
on their batteries, but and I don't think you need to worry about solar flares. I mean, not worry about them, but I mean, not be focused on that. North Carolina just had people with guns shoot up their power station, and Texas has had cold spells and hot spells that have knocked out their grid locally without any solar flares.
So how long if the grid does shut down, how long do you think we can survive without the grid?
What do you mean we can survive? What would define we can survive?
Live, be alive is survive.
It's like preparing for anything. If you have water on your site, that you can drink, if you have food.
Okay, where do we get water? The water that comes to me comes via pumps.
No, I
electric
mean,
pumps.
ahead of time. It's preparedness. You have
Well,
extra
I'm not
water.
prepared.
Yes, but I'm saying if you look at something like a skilled nursing facility or hospitals, they probably have containers of water on site so that if something happens, their patients don't expire. Okay?
Exactly. And the question is how much backup do they have and how long will it last? If we're down for, let's say, a couple of months, how long can people last without some of the things you have to have?
That's a pretty extended period. And I know that Medicare does have requirements on such facilities because they
Yeah.
inspect them and they make sure that they have enough probably to get them through. I would like to think at least 3 days. Okay.
I have experience in this.
Yeah.
Hurricane Iniki came through Kauai in 1992, I believe, and demolished, well, not totally demolished, but seriously damaged the piece of property I had there. And my son, who lives there with his wife in his house that he owns, and the entire North Shore of Kauai was without power for months. I'm not sure how many months, but I kind of have a feeling that it was more than one. And because the poles were blown down completely, the entire island was powered by one major generating plant that's on the east side of the island in the capital of the state capital, the county capital of Lihue. And the poles ran up the road around until you get to the Napali coast, where there's nothing more that goes on. There's no more roads, there's no more even hiking trails. And then it also goes south from the east point till you get to the west side, to the west end of the Napali coast. And all those poles were down. So they didn't get power until they put up new power poles around the whole island. And it was a long time. My son and his wife lived in their house, stayed there, ate. They had refrigeration because I sent them by, you can send via airlines, you can send individual pieces of freight, and I sent them 2 portable power generators. And they had refrigerated food, and I don't know where they got the food, probably drove to the center of the island where the generator was probably back on, but no power poles to send it up the coast.
Were they able to get fuel for their generators?
Yep.
That's one problem, is that, the gasoline stations use electric pumps to pump the gasoline, and there needs to be a way to get the gas out. I guess you can
hook up a portable generator to the individual pump to get enough.
Correct. If you have the gasoline, if you have the gasoline, right. Yeah. I'm looking at a standalone solar battery system that you can buy for like $1,000 to $2,000. Because of our constant sun, it makes sense. But you do have to worry about if you're here in a city situation and you're down for any period of time, there are roving gangs that are come around and try to get food and other things. I don't like to paint a dark picture, but
you are.
I am. There's an interesting book called 1 Second After that is an interesting discussion of this situation. The last solar flare was back in 1859, and at that time, it burned out the telegraph wires.
I think you owe those who are listening to you some information. Would you please? We all see that when you usually sign on, before you change your name to Will Wakely, your name is MUFON, M-U-F-O-N. Would you please tell us, everybody, what MUFON stands for?
Yeah, it's an organization that's been around for many, many years, that is a technical group that studies EFAs, ETs and UAPs. So these.
And what do those stand for?
UAP is the current designation of unidentified aerial phenomena.
And ETs?
ET stands for extraterrestrial.
Presumably
are flying those things.
MUFON subscribe theories about aliens.
Well, they're saying if there are these extraterrestrial vehicles, somebody's got to be flying them, unless they're drones, which they could be. But the question is, the ones flying them presumably are extraterrestrial.
Thank you, sir.
And Congress right now is requiring that the military report to them on this situation. And there's good reasons why the military and governments want to keep this classified. I can understand that. But it's being released now under duress, but Congress now is requiring information to be given to them every quarter. And as you can, a lot of activity here on the West Coast going on, or has happened in the past, called the Tic Tac, where our military saw many of these UFOs that showed up. They thought that they were just part of our military, but it turns out they were doing things that our military is not able to do. So interesting problem. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so Saul, you want to, I think you're done with where's the web, or where's the cloud?
Yes.
Anybody else have? Miriam, was that a wave goodbye, or want to say something? It was a wave.
She's saying bye-bye.
Okay, me too. Good meeting, folks. Oh, France
Okay.
is leading England in the second half of the football, the soccer. Interesting. So it might be France against who was it that won this morning against Portugal? I guess it was Morocco. It'll be Morocco against France. We shall see. By the way, it's interesting that Channel 5 is dedicated pretty much to these soccer, the FIFA group. So I don't know if you guys have been following any of the soccer matches, but they're very interesting. Adios, folks.
Bye-bye. I will send you a link later, Hank. Well, Hank's gone. Never mind. to the recording. So you got anything for us, Bobby? Apparently I'm now host and hanging around, and Stan's busy. I guess Stan's gone. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Bye-bye, everybody.